Pickle Tuesday.
Based AF.
So an unhinged loon fraudulently poses as a delivery guy and straight up nicks a poor man's pooch, before returning it to its original owner with the busty boobies and proceeding to forego traditional compensation by instead accepting an on-the-spot suck job.
Nice.
Some rando scuba divers then kidnap an innocent dolphin, whilst the next morning, this quirky quiffed pet detective fella called Ace Ventura once again lies to his landlord and insists he totally ain't hiding a secret menagerie of wild animals in his apartment. Lol, trust me, bro. And after he sods off, it's promptly revealed that his flat's in fact teeming with the fuckers, and he actually has more furry birds in his room than a rather disappointing orgy arranged last minute on silversingles.com, and bringing a whole new meaning to building a love nest. Turns out Monica from Friends is now moonlighting as a publicist, and is told by her boss to get that dopey dolphin back pronto, well given it's their team Super Bowl mascot and the big game is only 2 weeks away. So she hires that compulsive liar and dangerously reckless driver with a poofy hair and endlessly punchable face to go and get it back already, cause Snowflake the dolphin is meant to be performing in a week or two for the halftime show, yo.
Good luck with that.
He's then introduced to team leader and local fatty Roger Pedacta, and eventually finds a rare amber stone from a ring in Snowflake's tank. So obviously, whomever it belongs to is totally the one what did the kidnapping and shit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And after dealing with a bit of bullying from his new colleagues in the pig pen, and mainly by making the ugly one stare at a cockroach because reasons, AC Boy then reveals himself to be a white supremacist and can't even look a black man in the eye, and is thus only willing to communicate with him through his butt cheeks, also because reasons.
Hate crime!
Luckily, this chocolate fella doesn't report him to HR for doing a naughty hate crime, and instead just gives him a lead on the Amber Stone thing, which totally links to a billionaire collector of exotic animals called Ronald Camp. And after top totty bossy boss Lois Einhorn totally bollocks him for yet again compulsively lying by deceptively stating his reason for being there as,
I came to confess. I was the second gunman on the grassy knoll.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Busty Bonica takes a break from dating that Chandler Bing Bong fella from that marginally humorous 90s sitcom, and accompanies Ace on a date to investigate that Camp Ronald chap, well given he now has to go full Cinderella and totally match the stone to the correct ring and stuff. Naturally, she's slightly worried that this highly obnoxious living cartoon brat might go on to embarrass her tonight in front of her high-class pals. But luckily for her, he's on his best behaviour, and so only ends up once again lying about his identity, making silly immature faces behind people's backs, and totally trashing the nearby bathroom's internal pipework. Though, to be fair, turns out he had a Deep Blue Sea moment and was almost gobbled up by Stacey Abrams. Oh, whoops, I meant a fat toothy man-hungry predator.
Did I stutter?
Anyway, turns out the whole night was pointless, because the main suspect isn't missing the amber gem from his ring. So Ace instead goes on back to Monica's and theorises that the stone is actually from a 1984 AFC championship ring, thereby suggesting a member from the 1984 Dolphins team is totally the culprit or some shit. But after investigating all the teammates and also doing some more psychopathic driving, he promptly finds that all the rings are intact. Unlike the time he investigated the rings of Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue, which very assuredly were in a right sorry state. Anyway, turns out that Roger bloke has now totally topped himself, presumably after asking too many questions to Pam Bondi about the Epstein files, or having to sit through the god-awful new Snow White remake like I did the other day. And stay tuned for that one, folks. Naturally, Ace makes every professional cop in the room look like a total mug and rank amateur, by instantly and easily piecing together the events of the case in minutes, despite having totally ridiculous hair and not even wearing a tie.
Losers! Let's go, Ace. Losers.
Now believing Fatso was totally murdered, a few more flirty investigations soon lead Ace and Monica over to Ray Finkel, a disgraced former Dolphins ball booter who infamously missed a potentially winning kick in the 1984 Super Bowl, and subsequently blamed quarterback Dan Marino for incorrectly placing the ball laces out or some shit.
Okay.
Anyway, the critter-obsessed detective soon plants his snake inside his new floozy's cave and totally traumatises a handful of innocent creatures and also a multicoloured parrot in the process, who's having way more fun than he really should be watching humans bump uglies, and the future BBC presenter should just be arrested pronto for viewing hardcore bestiality.
Carrot, bastard.
Finkel's doddery parents then tell him how their son is now batshit crazy loon what harbours extreme hate against those he believes have wronged him. and I presume was just a nice conservative kid before going to an American college and getting radicalised by Discord and Reddit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, Finkel apparently escaped the Shady Acres mental institution a few years back and was never seen again. So Ace heads over to Finkel's arch nemesis Dan Marino to protect him, well given he's inevitably going to be his next target, but unfortunately totally fails in preventing the poor sod's kidnapping.
You had one job.
Just the one.
Naturally, Einhorn is pretty pissed about all this mental shit, and soon takes out her frustrations by unprofessionally engaging in inappropriate workplace relations and snogging this independent contractor's face off on a small desk.
Go on, you dirty scat!
So, self-appointed master of disguise Ace Ventura ponces about trying to convince the head doc that he's a stark raving loony boy in order to gain access to Finkel's old files, in what's essentially just an excuse to pad out some screen time and totally showcase Jim Carrey's wacky antics, in the same year that he did the exact same thing with Dumb and Dumber and The Friggin' Mask.
I'm tired, boss.
Luckily, the filmmakers treat the sequence and portrayal of episodes of mental health psychosis with all the sensitivity it deserves. Before Ace later finds an old newspaper article referencing a missing hiker by the name of Lois Einhorn, which is strangely the same two names as his moody molesty boss, but loves to inappropriately force herself on him during office hours.
No way.
Speaking of inappropriate behaviour during office hours, the chocolate chap who keeps having to literally talk to an arse all day is asked by Ace to do a bit of snooping in Einhorn's office, in exchange for Ace promising to treat him like a human being in future, with a tad more mutual respect and a little bit less anal gases, where he soon finds a love letter addressed to Einhorn from that deceased fat-ass predactor fella who loves defenestrating himself.
Go!
And in a shocking realisation, more horrific than that time I read about how Ronald McDonald wasn't just the name of a cheery fast food mascot, but also the real name of Santa Claus, who turned out to be molesting kids throughout the best part of the 20th century.
What the fuck?
Ace realises that his new boss is actually a bloke. And this Einhorn bird, what totally has Einhorn, was really Ray Finkel in disguise all along.
What? That's fucked up.
And he just can't believe he made out with a bona fide man girl and hairy woman man who straddled him across a small table during office hours recently, and can't seem to get himself clean from the shame of it all for love nor money.
I totally get it.
I am a real woman, okay?
Anyway, so after engaging in a bout of blatant and shameless transphobia for shits and giggles, Ace follows him back to her hideout and tries to bring her to justice once and for all. But before he can free the dolphin and the Dan Marino bro, she tries to frame poor Ace as the one what did all the kidnappings and shit.
Oh, that is bang out of order.
Luckily, he don't have to feel bad about smacking a bitch up now that he knows that she's technically a deceptive bloke, and soon channels his inner Chris Brown and totally goes to town on a moody woman with whom he once had relations with.
I like the way it hurts.
And once a local filth turn up to try and arrest him, Ace tries to prove that she-him isn't actually a he-her, but in fact a he-he. And no, not that resurrected King of Pop fella. Which mainly involves gradually stripping her down to her undies in order to reveal her true phallic nature.
What the hell is even that?
Which is apparently fine when Jim Carrey does it in an outrageous early 90s comedy movie, but when I bloody do it, I'm just a quote transphobic piece of shit and told to never ever break into the White House and contact Big Mike ever again. Lame. Anyway, that's why Predactor is dead, because he found out about her secret winky and she.
Honestly, I don't blame them.
And we end with Snowflake the dolphin finally returning to its captive cage and forced to do undignified tricks for the Super Bowl crowd, as Ace tries to choke his chicken before settling for seducing Monica and getting her to cheat with him on Chandler.
Bing bong, bing bong,
Bing bong, bing bong.
Really?
And that's it, that's the movie. Though my favourite part about the Sherlock Holmes inspired spoof movie, featuring a man who literally talks out of his arse and for once isn't actually Piers Morgan, was when AC Boy repeated the last words that my dad ever said to me as a kid before disappearing from my life forever.
If I'm not back in 5 minutes, just wait longer.
But anyway, that's the plot and that's your lot. Considering that bell thing so you don't miss any future recaps. Tell me if you like this flick in the comments if you have time. And I'll secretly snog a man whilst dressed as a woman and then chuck her in a small pool for undermining my masculinity and making me forever doubt my own sexuality, all with you, in the next one.